Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at Season 5 of Smallville. So in this season, Clark must begin his training with Jor-El at the Fortress of Solitude in order to prepare for an impending doom. So Season 5 is often regarded as one of, if not the best, seasons of the show. And it's easy to see why. It was such a huge turning point for the future of Clark's journey. And once the characters had all graduated from high school, the show would then delve into some new territories that had never been explored before. Every TV show starts out with a 5-year plan in mind if it's lucky enough to make it past the first season. And this is quite honestly one of the best 5th seasons of any TV show. I mean, it's literally up there, well in my opinion, with the 5th season of Breaking Bad. It really is that brilliant. So let's get into it. So first of all, I really liked what they did with Clark as a character this season. He is transported to the Fortress of Solitude and is expected to begin his training with Jor-El. And you know, he's still hesitant regarding that, but it's through certain events in the season that he learns the importance of it. And it's okay for him to kind of run away from his destiny this early in the show. I mean, later on, he's got no excuse, to be honest. As for Lex Luthor, this is the first season where you can really feel the conflict between them. This is the beginning of the end of their friendship. I mean, Clark's distrust for Lex grows stronger by the day, practically. As usual, Lex is still obsessed with the idea that Clark is hiding a secret. And he has a really nice episode of his own called Lexmas, which is something you don't really need to watch, but I'd still recommend it. He basically has a dream of a potential future that he could have had. So if you like Christmas-themed episodes, well there you go. I'd recommend it. Plus, they do something really bizarre with him at the end of the season, and yet I liked it. I genuinely couldn't get enough of it. Lana is in a relationship that I guess we've been waiting for all this time. It does have its ups and downs, and that's all I can really say about her without getting into spoilers. Jonathan wants to run for Kansas State Senator, but he's got some stiff competition if you ask me. Chloe manages to get an internship at the Daily Planet, and this is something you'll get used to, especially towards the end of the show. She really feels like she fits in there, while at the same time kind of standing out, which is important. And at one point, I believe she, Lana, and Lois were all staying in the same apartment together, correct me if I'm wrong. And then Lois at some point decides to live in the room above the Talon where Lana used to stay. Lois and Clark are still friends at the moment, but you know, she's there for him when she needs to be. Lionel is slowly becoming a better person throughout the season, although some people are still skeptical of him. The remainder of his arc throughout the show is exactly why I consider him to be my favorite character. He just becomes more and more interesting to watch the more you see of him. There's even a special guest appearance by the late great Carrie Fisher, and I was really happy to see her on this because even though she sadly passed away about 5 years ago, as a longtime Star Wars fan, I still miss her to this very day. Rest in peace, Carrie. As for you, well, you can burn in hell. This is also the season where the show began to delve deeper into the DC Comics mythology. For example, there's the Fortress of Solitude, there's Phantoms from the Phantom Zone, there's some more members of the Justice League like Aquaman and Cyborg. Oh, and Brainiac's in this season, by the way. And because of all of this, Season 5 was the perfect balance between the old and the new. I mean, later on in the show, Clark ends up at the Daily Planet with Lois, and at first it feels like a totally different show that has pretty much abandoned most of its roots. Whereas with this season, the roots are still somewhat there, you know, there's still Lana in the picture, Clark's still living with his parents, and you know, villains like Zod and Doomsday and Darkseid, they don't show up until later. One thing I forgot to mention way back in my Season 3 review is the fact that some actors were given opportunities to direct some episodes on the show. For instance, in Season 3, John Schneider, who plays Jonathan Kent, directed the episode Talisman. And that's the first episode where they really got the opportunity to test the capabilities of action scenes on the show. For this season, Tom Welling himself directed the episode Fragile, and this would be the first of 6 episodes that he would direct throughout the entire show. And I have to say, he's a very good director. This season, of course, also features the 100th episode, Reckoning, which is episode 12 of this season. Something game-changing happens in this episode that affects the rest of the season and pretty much the show going forward, and it's actually my favorite episode in the entire show. It's well acted, it's suspenseful, it's emotional, and just so well directed. It just felt so different compared to what we had seen before, and if this wasn't a clear indication that things were going to change going forward, I don't know what is. And the finale was just excellent. It took a few bold risks with some of the characters, and it did a good job in setting up the premiere for season 6. Now, I don't have any major complaints with season 5 other than the fact that some episodes are not the best the show has to offer. There's the episode Thirst, which everybody hates. Basically, Lana gets caught up with some vampires. Yeah, vampires in Smallville. And spoiler alert, but not really, it doesn't matter. She becomes a vampire at one point, and yeah, things get a little bit cheesy from there. I would tell you to skip it, but as is the case with a lot of filler episodes, there's something at the end that's important for the story, a tiny little detail, and if you skip it, then some things may not make sense. That's the frustrating thing about this show, given that it started out as a Monster of the Week show. And then there's the episode Mercy. Now, I do enjoy this episode, but it's kind of hard not to laugh at it. It was a desperate attempt to capitalize on the Saw franchise, which I love. I think it's one of the most underrated horror franchises of all time. But their attempt at doing that is so obvious. Just like in the movies, where you have the Jigsaw killer conducting the Jigsaw game, you've got something like that here. But there isn't this big surprise reveal at the end as to who it is. They kind of reveal it halfway through, and it's not really all that much of a surprise. And again, I would tell you to skip it, but there's something in there that's important. But other than that, there's really nothing wrong with this season. It's great. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Season 5 of Smallville. Next time we're going to be looking at Season 6. So thank you all for watching. Please be sure to like the video, share and subscribe, hit the notification icon, be safe during this time, and I'll see you soon.